Hello, everyone, and welcome to our February 27th meeting of the Women in Product Toastmasters Club. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Amy Kirkland, and today our theme is Product Manager Do's and Don'ts. I'm excited to hear everyone's recommendations on do's and don'ts today, and at this time, I would like to introduce our president, Erica Tamburo.
Hi, thank you so much, Amy. It is so great to be here with all you today. I want to welcome everybody to the Women in Product Toastmasters Club, where we are empowering every woman's voice at the table. Welcome to February 27th. We have a number of exciting announcements to go over today. Then after I go over our announcements, I will welcome our guests and ask them to introduce themselves, let them know how they found us. Yeah, so I'll hop into announcements. Last 2 weeks ago, we had our second club contest. Congratulations to everybody who participated. You all did fantastic, downloaded and watched, started watching everybody's speeches. You all have come so far. I hope you're so happy with yourselves. Special congratulations to Aunt Sue, who will be advancing to the Women in Product Conference. Awesome, Aunt Sue. I hope, I'm looking forward to seeing you in May and hope you guys can join us at the conference and support Aunt Sue. Congratulations to Sarah, who's going to advance on in the Toastmaster International Contest. It's super duper exciting. And congrats to Svetlana, who's the alternate. And then for the evaluation contest, congratulations to Mula, and who's going to be advancing on for the evaluation contest, and Sarah, who is our alternate. Excellent job, everybody. Do's are due March 11th. If you have time today, you want to make Rosie's life a little bit easier and less stressful, go ahead and submit your dues. If you have any questions, please reach out to her and she can get you straightened out. All right. Oh, and also make sure you leave the paying for goods or service unchecked. So you don't have to pay any of those pesky little, I'm losing words today, I'm sorry. So the Women in Product Conference is May 10th through 11th. There are volunteers needed for our area contests, so please let us know if you can help out with judge, ballot counter, timer, etc. This is a really great way to help support the district and other clubs as well, and our club members. Let's see. There will be a mentoring program update soon. I know everybody's been really anxious to hear about this next year, our new mentoring program. We're developing a framework, all kinds of good stuff to help facilitate. So stay tuned for that. And following today's meeting, we'll have a short Q&A for anybody who has any questions after the meeting. We will be around. And that is that. So I'm going to welcome our guests. Hop back over here so I can see everybody. All right. Sophia, would you mind saying hello to everybody and how you found us?
Hello, everyone. I'm Sophia. I found you all through Amy, who was with me in another Product Executive Accelerator program. And I'm really excited to be joining Toastmasters Club because I want to improve my public speaking skills since I have to present in front of the executives level audience. And also to learn more about product management. So I'm really excited to be here. This is my second meeting.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you back and to meet you and get to know you a little bit more. All right, I think we saw Dana down there somewhere. There you are. Hi, Dana.
Yeah. Hi.
Would you like to say hi?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Dana. Let's see. I've heard about Toastmasters in a lot of the Women in Product, like Facebook groups and Slack groups a lot. But Sam, Doctor, invited me. So thanks, Sam. Excited to be here.
Pleasure to meet you. I think I found anybody. If there's anybody out there that I am not seeing right now, let me know. We invite you to participate as much as you'd like in our meeting today. We'll have our formal talks at the beginning, and towards the end, we'll have what we call table topics. Table topics is our impromptu portion of the meeting, where the table topics master will ask questions to whoever I pick. If you would prefer not to participate in that section, please send me a message so I don't choose you today, because we do like to choose our guests so that they can have some fun too. All right, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ashley. And Miss Ashley is a digital process owner with Keller Williams, based out of Austin, Texas. She works with cross-functional teams to identify and implement new product features and enhancements that enable real estate agents to improve their day-to-day business practices. Outside of work, she enjoys reading, learning to code, and coffee. And she is going to be our Toastmaster of the day, the mostest of the day. Take it away, Ashley.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica, Madam President. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Good morning, good afternoon. We have a slightly changed schedule today. We're actually going to be hearing from two speakers. We did have a third, but unfortunately they had personal circumstances that they needed to focus on. And of course, we want to be supportive of that. But as we are going through today's meeting, and I know a couple of you are guests, I do want to take a little bit of time to go through the functionary roles that we have for today. And I would love for our general evaluator to come on board here in a moment and also let us know who's going to be on her team today. But first, I do want to kick off with our grammarian, Sina.
Hi, everyone. This is Sina. So I'm the grammarian for today. And as a grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any improper language as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As a grammarian, it's also my duty to introduce the word of the day. So for today's meeting, the word of the day is fastidious, which means very attentive and concerned about accuracy and detail. As an example of using the word, he chooses his words with fastidious care. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day, and I'll give the grammarian's report when called upon during the meeting and also report on the usage of the word of the day. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Perfect. Thank you, Sina, for our word of the day. And we're still going to go ahead and move through roles and what they are, just so we can get a little bit more comfortable with them. But I would love for Ansu to come up and tell us about her general evaluator role, and then also the other gals that are on her team for today.
Hi, everybody. I am the general evaluator for today. My task essentially is to evaluate what has gone well, what can be improved further throughout the meeting, from the moment we started the meeting, all the speeches, the evaluation portion, table topics, and so on. And I have a whole team of folks like working alongside me, and I would like to call upon the first evaluator who will be evaluating the very first speech is Sam Doctor, and the second evaluator is Sarah Gagnon. I have a question, Ashley. Should they be talking about what they will be evaluating now, or do we want to do that before the speeches?
We can do that before the speeches if your teammates are comfortable with hopping on real quick and just sharing what exactly they'll be evaluating for the team.
Okay, perfect. And the next role would be the R counter role, and I would give it off to Svetlana to explain what an R counter person does.
Great, thank you, Ansu, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters and guests. So the purpose of the counter is to note words and sounds that are used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will fastidiously listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds, including and I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, or this means. At the end of the meeting, I will report the number of times that each speaker used these expressions, and that's about it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Ansu.
Thank you, Svetlana. The next person on the team is the timer, Rosie Hernandez.
Hi everyone, my role today is to be the timer, and in this role I am tasked with keeping time that's taken by each participant and give feedback using the timing card, so my background. When they reach their time limit, my background will turn red, but otherwise the background will turn green when the speaker has reached the minimum time. Yellow will represent that they are coming upon the maximum limit, and then red means that they have reached the limit. And back to you.
Thank you, Rosie. The last person on my team is the vote counter, Richu. Over to you, Richu.
Thank you, Ansu. As the vote counter, my responsibility is to just tally the votes. So you'll watch everybody talk through the table topics, and the one you think had the best speech for the day within the framework of table topics, you send their name to me in private chat mode. And towards the end of the session, I'll announce the winner. Back to you, Ansu.
Thank you, Richu. And over to the Toastmaster. And I guess the last person who needs to talk about the role is the table topics master, Erica.
Hi. Like I mentioned earlier, table topics is our impromptu section of the day. I've prepared a number of questions framed around our theme of the day. Those are 1 to 2 minute responses, and they are easy and fun, and you'll have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, ladies, for explaining your roles, what you're going to be doing, and how you are going to help us improve our skills when it comes to speaking. Without further ado, we have already gone over our lovely word of the day, which is fastidious. I'm probably going to struggle saying that word. I will nail it by the end of this meeting. Sina went ahead and shared that with us, and as some of us have already used the word of the day, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Svetlana, we see you, you're getting after it. So now we need to kind of raise the bar a little bit and get to Svetlana's level and use it throughout today's meeting. At this point, we are going to go ahead and jump into our speeches for today. We do have a couple of speeches that are kind of in line with our theme of product management do's and don'ts. I'm very excited to hear from our speakers and also learn from them as well. So please feel free to take notes however you see fit, whether that be pen and paper, online, whatever works for you, but I hope you walk away with some good material to take back and implement. First up, we are going to have Laurie Edwards. Laurie is the person who loves to do it all. She's the co-founder of our Toastmasters Club, our VP of Education, and a director of product at Niche. With her speech titled, The Life-Saving Product Manager, she's going to share the 3 do's she lives by. Laurie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and welcome fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today, I'm going to share quite the story with you, so I hope you're ready. It was the 4th of July, and when most people are celebrating America's independence here in the US, this product manager had her independence stripped away from her in an instant. She had fallen sick again to a chronic illness, but this wasn't her first rodeo. This resilient product manager was about to put her top 3 product management do's into action to save her life. The 3 do's she lives by are lead, influence, and inspire. The first is lead. After 2 months in the hospital, she was literally on her deathbed. A mere 112 pounds, malnutrition, and too weak to literally stand. She knew she had to do something to survive. The doctors and nurses would come to her room every day and repeat the same old story. You're not healthy enough to leave, is what they keep telling her. In fact, one evening, she found herself being rushed into an emergency MRI because the doctors were afraid that she was going to die. The next day, she decided enough was enough. Something had to change. And that morning, when the doctors came in to give them their status update, she chose to lead the conversation instead. Beginning to ask facetious questions, like any great product manager does. She asked, what does it mean to be healthy enough? What's the plan to get there? Do you need different resources or more resources? Are there any blockers that might be impeding this process? The nurse over in the corner, charting the conversation, stopped, completely shocked. He locked his eyes onto the patient. His mouth was wide open. He could not believe what he was witnessing. No one ever talked to doctors like that. They just took the news, accepted it, and waited for the next day to come, praying that it was going to be a good day. Leading the charge, she was able to get clarity on what success looked like, gathered data from the nurses to understand if it was even possible given the current resources, and began influencing the necessary stakeholders around the hospital to get what she needed to be healthy enough. This brings us to our second product manager pro tip to live by: influence. Product managers influence the people around them, whether they're on their team or not. Equipped with the facts, this product manager realized the biggest blocker to her health, to getting healthy enough, was nutrition. The food being served to her daily didn't actually contain enough nutrients to reach this benchmark. Therefore, she needed to influence the medical staff to make some changes. She brought this problem to the attention of the doctor the next morning and asked to speak to the head of the hospital kitchen. At first, the medical team just laughed at her. There was no way the head of the kitchen was going to come talk to a patient. Who does that? Therefore, she knew that if she was going to influence him, she needed to take another direction. So that day, she wrote a letter explaining the problem that needed to be solved, provided some great nutrition data to validate it, and asked for an opportunity to hear his culinary expertise. The next morning, when the doctor came in to give a status update, she received the news. The head of the kitchen staff would be up to talk to her this afternoon. She couldn't believe it. That afternoon, the head chef and her brainstormed ideas on how he could create nutrient-dense meals using the ingredients he already had in his kitchen. After an hour, they had created several ideas of menu items that met these requirements. They didn't require any new ingredients, and it also didn't require any extra work from his staff. The chef could hardly understand how this was even possible. In fact, they were able to reconfigure the menu items he was already making each and every day to create these new offerings. Smiling ear to ear, with a fire in his eye and a pep in his step, the chef was so inspired, he wanted to change his entire menu. And that brings us to our third and final product manager do: inspire. Every person gets to choose the energy they bring to the room. The chef, when he entered the room, he was guarded. He expected the patient to yell at him just like everybody does every day, complain about how much his food sucks, you know, the way Gordon Ramsay would have done it, just leaving him feeling like he's hit rock bottom in his career and he was never a culinary expert to begin with. Instead, the product manager chose to bring positive, inclusive energy to the room. She created a space where he felt safe, where he was actually the expert, and he could be creative without judgment. She did this by focusing on the higher level problem that needed to be solved: nutrient-dense meals. The chef was so inspired after their conversation, he made this change immediately. And not just for her, for the entire hospital. Now every patient had access to nutrient-dense foods that would help them heal. You may have guessed it by now, but this product manager was me. I nearly died twice during this experience, but it made me realize how powerful a product mindset can be. Using these 3 product manager do's, I was able to save my own life. Therefore, I challenge you to lead, influence, and inspire the world around you. To conclude, I will leave you all with this quote from Jeff Patton. At the end of the day, your job isn't to get the requirements right. Your job is to change the world. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Lovely. Thank you, Laurie. That was a very well done speech, and I'm actually hungry now because we started off talking about food, so thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and put 2 minutes and 30 seconds just to pause for written remarks. Rosie, if you could help us out on that front as our timer, that would be brilliant. And we'll go ahead and open it up for questions as well for Laurie. And I do want to comment that I love the Gordon Ramsay reference. It was kind of funny to me, partly because I could hear and see him in my mind being a little Gordon Ramsay, but also how his attitude would actually help cooks along the way. But he's totally different on like Master Chef with Junior with the kids, night and day. I'm like, can we carry that over to your adult chefs? But I guess not. We'll see. But do you guys have any questions for Laurie about how she leveraged and used her product do's, her 3 do's of lead, influence, and inspire?
Laurie, I wanted to go first and tell you that this speech did all 3 for me. I think your example was so well presented, and I hope you're feeling better, of course. And so you were leading the whole conversation here, and definitely inspired me to look at inspiration differently. Right. So
That's
the
awesome.
whole concept of inspiration from the place of humility is quite interesting. So thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Rishi. That was actually really nice. And also super appropriate too. I think right now, given things that have transpired over the week, it has definitely been difficult, and it's been emotionally challenging and raw. And it is nice to hear Laurie talk about that in a completely different mindset and hear it reinforced. I definitely had that experience this week. I was working at work conference, and it was all about having a good mindset and being able to find the positive in the absolute worst. And hearing Laurie talk about that just kind of reinforced what I have learned over my work conference of working through those challenges and being able to not only have a lot of strength to do it, but also just the sheer determination to keep going, even though you feel like it's the worst situation, but just taking one step at a time to get there, to see the silver lining and to actually get to the end is brilliant. And again, thank you, Laurie. And I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but
No, thank you both.
Does anyone have any questions before we move on to our next speaker?
I want to tell one other side note of this if no one's got a question.
Yeah, please.
So this happened in the summer of 2019, and this club was born shortly after this. So I actually reached out to Erica when I was still on leave for this illness. So this is one of the results of taking what I learned and applying it. So thank you all for continuing this club and joining me on the weekends to do all this.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. And guys, if you do have any follow-up questions for Laurie, please feel free to send her a direct message and ask your question, or just drop it in the chat. I'm sure she's more than happy to answer there as well if you do have any follow-up questions. All right, let's keep moving. Next up, we are going to be hearing from Sonia Patria. She's a product manager at an early stage business-to-business software as a service startup called Capacity. She loves reading news about the latest advancements in technology and startups that use these technologies to solve hard problems around the world. She recently moved from San Francisco to Bangalore, India, to be closer to her family. Today, we're going to be hearing from Sonia about product management versus deep work. Sonia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashley. Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking about product managers versus deep work. How many times are you interrupted in a workday while working on something completely unrelated? For me, that's about 10 to 20 times. Someone needs a response to a ticket. Somebody else needs to find out where the documentation lives for a product. I have to check emails. I interrupt myself many times during the workday while I'm working on something unrelated. I'm sure all of you can relate to this. And a PM's workday sometimes looks like this. It's a 12-hour day, and the real work that you need to do yourself starts after 5 p.m. Did you know that millennials switch their attention between different platforms about 27 times per hour? And that multitasking leads to a 15 points drop in IQ while you're multitasking? Or that lack of productivity due to multitasking causes losses up to $450 billion annually? These were all very surprising stats to me, especially as I, as a product manager, do this every day in my work, and I'm not sure how much productivity loss happens due to that. So a lot of side effects of multitasking are poor concentration, loss of productivity, cognitive decline, and also burnout. What is the solution to multitasking, and is it something that is viable for product managers in their day jobs? Well, the solution to multitasking is deep work. Deep work is a term coined by Cal Newport, and he popularized it in his book of the same name. And deep work is an ability to perform one activity for long periods of time, where you can get to a flow state and push your cognitive capabilities beyond what you would usually do with multitasking. But the question is deep work viable for teams? Deep work improves concentration, it improves productivity, it results in higher quality work, it leaves you with a feeling of accomplishment and fulfillment, and it also frees up time and energy for other activities after your workday is over. Here are the steps that I used to build a habit of deep work. And all of this are still in progress as I'm learning how to use deep work in my own schedule. The first step was to plan my workday. I used to start my day with responding to Slack messages as soon as I got them, or responding to emails as soon as I received them. With this new paradigm of work, I started my day with labeling all of my tasks for the day as deep work versus shallow work. Shallow work included things like emails, responding to messages, creating tickets, work that don't add value in the traditional sense to my career. or to the product or problem that I'm solving. I also started saying no to a lot of meetings, such as stand-ups, which was pretty controversial to begin with, but got normalized after a certain point. I also started putting focus blocks on my calendar. And I often creatively name those focus blocks, like creating value or working on something so people wouldn't necessarily think that I'm just blocking off time for no reason. Once I planned my day, prioritized what I needed to be focusing on to actually get into a mode of deep work, I use something called a Pomodoro Timer. And I'm sure many people have already heard about it and used it, but this is one of the simplest ways to get into a focused state and avoid distractions. Pomodoro Timer has the concept of Pomodoro Timer is to set 25 minutes of focused work and then take a 10 minutes break and then repeat it until you move on to something else. Along with using a Pomodoro Timer, I also turned off my apps and notifications from my phone. And the other thing that I did was to batch shallow tasks like responding to emails and messages together. And I took the help of technology. There are a lot of great tools out there that help you focus on, stay focused on one task, block other apps and websites, and start your own Pomodoro timer. The one that I really like is Forest, where you can actually grow a tree, a virtual tree, if you stay focused and don't pick up your phone for about 25 minutes. And they also have partnerships where they contribute to actual building of trees. The third step to practicing deep work is to communicate with stakeholders. You don't want to be blocking people with completely isolating yourself. Rather, share data with your manager on how your productivity has improved, how you have reduced time spent on distractions versus actual valuable work. And also set your status, sync your calendar with your collaboration app so your team members know not to disturb you at some point or to expect delayed messages. Once you've planned your day, practiced your deep work, make time for breaks. Breaks are very important for your brain to assimilate all of the information that you have learned during your deep work session. And remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. Start with a small amount of deep work and then increase your time as you get more used to focusing on one task at a time. To conclude, we know that multitasking negatively impacts productivity, and the antidote to multitasking is deep work. And yes, product managers can also practice deep work by planning your day, practicing slowly, and to take breaks. And remember that it's not about perfection. If you get distracted, come back into a focus mode. And maybe we will recover a portion of those $450 billion that we lose to multitasking every year. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. That was very timely, I have to say, and certainly made me think about my own habits. And I feel a few others agreed with that in the chat as well, in terms of how we can really think about deep work. And as before, with our previous speech, Rosie, if you could help put 2 minutes on the goal, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so our evaluator can gather their thoughts and put that together. And if anyone has any questions for Sonia as well, you're free to raise your hand, speak up, ask her a question. And I definitely have one right now. I remember you had mentioned the author's name of the book, Deep Work. Can you say that one more time so I can write it down?
Yeah, it's Cal Newport. I'll add that to the chat. Cal Newport.
I got a question. Have you found that this also helps with context switching situations, or do you have any pro tips around the context switching side of things?
Yeah, I started this speech as a context switching speech, then transitioned to multitasking. But one of the things that I learned about context switching while doing research for this is the one slide that I showed earlier on time blocking. Can I share my slides again? One slide that I showed on context switching. Wait, 1 second. Sorry, can't move slides. Okay. This is a slide. This is a infographic that I found on Todoist's blog, and this basically shows how people work and how much the context switch during the day versus focusing on one task at a time and finishing that before moving on to the next task. I know it's not entirely feasible to do this, but along with time blocking, batching your tasks is also something that helps with context switching, especially when you're responding to a lot of people.
I have a question, Soumya, and thank you for bringing this timely topic into the discussion. How were you able to, meetings are set up by a lot of stakeholders, right? Like, were you able to successfully get people to, schedule meetings around the same time? How were you able to evangelize this idea of productivity across your organization?
I think the first step was for me to evaluate what times I can actually take off my calendar to create a focus time schedule. And in my startup, nobody usually sets up meetings during the morning. So I found that I can actually set up focus time during the mornings. So people don't message me at that time at least. And I set up focus blocks. It looks in my calendar, it looks like a meeting. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one big focus block where people will think, oh, you're just not taking meetings during this time, but actually break it up into like PRD and strategic work or creating documentation. I break it down into separate meetings on my calendar so people don't schedule. And if someone schedules it and there's a conflict, if they ask to shift it around, then yeah, for sure I can shift it around if there's no other schedule available, but people usually find a time.
Great. Well, thank you guys for your questions. I definitely enjoyed listening to them. And Soumya, thank you so much for your presentation as well. At this time, we are going to keep moving forward to a round of questions. And I would love for our table topics master, Erica, to come on up and ask us a round of questions.
Thank you so much, Ashley. All right, so today's theme is product managers' do's and don'ts. And my questions are around that theme today. So to do or not to do, that is the question. Our first table topics question for today focuses on the to-do list. Can you discuss a strategy that you use to manage your to-do list? And I am going to call on Tanya. Tanya, would you like to share?
Sorry, I'm having video issues today. So I have two monitors going and I apologize for that. But on my to-do list, I fastidiously take notes no matter what the meeting is or the topic. I take notes on, I use the Mac tool notes, and I'll just take general notes for myself, something that I can go back and I can search later. And I'm finding that if I, at the moment, think that the topic isn't relevant to me, eventually someone's going to ask me a question, or I'll be in another meeting where something was referenced and I can refer to that. So I'm always taking notes. Another thing that I do is, and actually this is only started when mostly started when I joined Toastmasters, was to always be prepared for every meeting, whether I'm just like a CC on the meeting, or like a bystander, or I just try to prepare a little bit, research a little bit what the topic is before I go in, but mostly with PowerPoint presentations, depending on the audience, I'll have a script ready, or so I've learned that through Toastmasters. And then another do is, and I've learned this week, is to try to really, it's hard to do, but go with the flow. We had a major reorg on Monday. Pretty much my boss was let go. And so I'm just in this purgatory phase, but I'm trying to just go with it, see the positive, things will get better. But as a product manager, your products, they go through these phases, and this is just one of those things. So just go with it. Take notes, be prepared, go with the flow.
Thank you, Tanya. The next question is to do or not to do. Our second question focuses on the not to do. Can you discuss a time that you were asked to do something that didn't fall in your wheelhouse? Were you able to say no? Were you unable to say no? How did you negotiate that situation? And I am going to call on Jennifer. Jennifer, would you like to answer? Did she drop just as soon as I said her name?
Yes, Erica, she did.
Okay, I'll pick somebody else. Let's see, we have some guests. Dana, would you like to answer that question?
Sure, I can attempt it. Okay, so let me repeat back because I know there were a few different pieces to that one. I think it was name a time when you got asked to do something that you didn't have the capacity to do, and how did you respond to it? Okay, great. I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head, but I can talk as a general product manager. I think a lot of us get asked to do a lot of things, and I've historically worked in startups. And the thing about startups is that nobody really owns a lot of different functions. It's a lot of different people just trying to step up and take responsibility for something that they might not have formal ownership of. And additionally, the smaller the startup, or I guess what I want to talk about is also, I think, the thought process of a product manager, and probably a really common trait, is that we do want to be a bit of the hero, and we do want to step up and take more responsibility and help move our company forward in any way we can. With that being said, we also have to be aware of our own capacity, of our own time management, and that we do have priorities and things we own that we have to move forward. So we need to be cognizant about saying no a lot of the time, right? We can't say yes to everything that's asked of us. And just what's common with product management is that we do get asked of a lot of things a lot of the time. So one thing I practice doing is always keeping track of everything I have on my to-do list and being really prioritized and organized about the things that are most important, so that when things do come up, I can really quickly triage that thing and understand, okay, this is not on my high priority, or this might not really help me move my primary goal forward. So I'm going to have to knock it down. And the best way to communicate that is just through transparency, right? Your same rationale that you're kind of going through in your head for, why am I unable to take on this thing right now, right? I have these other things that are more important, just sharing that, right? And if you can have documentation, even better. I know one thing I do is I keep a Google sheet of everything I'm working on at the time and how much time commitment that is, so that I can show somebody else in a transparent way, hey, here's what I'm working on, and here's why this thing you're asking me to do is not on my priority and I don't have the capacity to do it. And then, of course, just working with other people and having a high EQ to kind of trail through and make sure you're not too off-putting in your way of saying no.
A beautiful answer. Thank you, Dana. Our next question of the day is, When I think about do's and don'ts, I think about best practices. And of course, if you Google best practices, there's no shortage of articles. In your experience, if you were mentoring an aspiring PM, what best practice would you suggest for them to focus on learning first? And I would like to ask that to Sophia.
So I am myself a new PM, and what I'm learning in the best practices is to prioritize. When I am attending the meetings, then I listen to all. I'm very fastidious in taking the notes, and then I specifically look for what my action items are or what is pertaining to the other stakeholders in case I need to reach out to them in the future. Then I know that for this project, this stakeholder is responsible, and if I've missed anything, then I can reach out to them. And as was mentioned by previous speakers, I have weekly one-on-one meetings with my manager, and I always keep on checking the priorities and what I should be focusing on, the items which are due in the more recent time span. I'll work on them, and I check whether some timelines need to be moved. That's all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophia.
Thank you.
Our next question is, so Laurie today shared one of her bravest moments. And my biggest to do would be to encourage others to do something brave. What is one of your proudest and bravest moments? And I would like to ask Sharon to answer that one for us.
Oh, can you see me? Okay. All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Madam Table Topic Master. One of my bravest moments that I've done in the past, it was a few years back. Our company was holding a family day at Great America in Santa Clara. And so a few of us got together kind of organically to be a dance troupe. So I never knew how to do Indian dance. And the three other friends I have still, they're very accomplished dancers, at least a couple of them are. And me and the other person, we are just like, would you please be so kind and dumb it down for us so we can pick up and learn in 2 weeks? And I was always I had no fear when I was learning it because I knew I got to deliver, right? As a product manager, you always got to deliver and try to meet a deadline. And so that day came right before we got on the stage. Oh, I should mention back that we actually had to be voted, like 17 entries, and the company had to vote for top five groups that's worthy to perform at our event, Applies Got Talent. So we got voted in as top 5, and we were very excited. So we had 2 weeks to practice 1 minute and 45 seconds. Boy, oh boy, I never considered myself as a fastidious person, and that was not a fastidious task. And we did the best we could. So we put on the show. In front of 200 people in the audience. Right before I got on the stage, I actually start to kind of doubting myself. And I was like, shake it off, Sharon. You just cannot do that. It's too close. You're so close. You just got to do it. And so we did our bit. It was great. I just got that out of my system. And the thing I took away from that experience was you can be afraid, but do it anyway. Just do it anyway. And you just never know where that would lead you. And because of that experience, I was invited to be part of panelists for a webinar for young college grads. And I really learned a lot. I had colleagues came to me and say, was that a joke, Sharon? You look so bad on the video. And then I would be like, it was okay. Look at me on the stage. Look how great I was. From somebody who did not know the gesture from like a flower or butterfly in Indian dance language to somebody who was able to brave herself up and perform. So that was my experience of being brave. I took a little bit too much time. Back to you, Erica. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that story where everybody's laughing and smiling and cheering you on. That was an excellent story. Thank you, Sharon. Today, Sonia shared with us one of her to-don'ts that she turned into a to-do. I have a friend who had recently shared a to-don't list. And I started to Google, what do people typically put on their to-don't lists? And there's quite a variety of things. For example, stop pleasing everyone, give all my energy to my work, working through my lunch break. Can you share with us something that you might want to put on your to-don't list? And I would like to ask Sam. Sam, would you like to share with us?
Thank you for the question, Erica. Yeah, there are a lot of things that I could say right now to put on my to-don't list. I think something that I've been working on currently compared to when I first started working after graduation is similar to the example you gave about working through your lunch break, is setting that boundary of when you close the computer, basically. And I think that's something that is easier to practice when you're working at an office. But now that a lot of us are working from home, that's something that is can be very difficult to do. After seeing our speech today about restructuring your calendar, I really like how you can set up your entire day. And once your day is done, that is your cue to close your computer, whether you were actually able to check off all your boxes or not. That's something that I've been putting in my to-do list so I don't hit my to-don't of working past my desired hour and keeping my computer open at a time when I should not. Thank you again for the question. Table Topics Master, back to you.
Thank you, Sam. That is also needs to go onto my list as well. All right, so communication is the key to everything. The key to understanding your user, the key to motivating your team, the key to creating a powerful vision and strategy. What is one communication strategy that you feel that you have particular skill in, and how has that helped you as a PM? And I would like to ask that to Arishu.
Thank you for that question, Madam Table Topics Master. I think my top one in terms of communication would be documentation. By documentation, I mean very specifically arriving at data models which are backed by metrics, and these metrics are something which sometimes are standard metrics, sometimes are metrics that I've created for myself, for the team, for the product, for the customer, for the sales team. And I find innovative ways to measure something and then put that up on perhaps some sort of a graph or a bar chart or some highlight pointers, which can be presented on a slide, and then share that every so often. And I try to do that quarterly so that people understand, and so do I understand, about what is being measured and why is that valuable. And the top 3 ones that we should continue to measure is something that we collectively come together, come to an agreement on, and then continue to build that up. It's either a decreasing number or an increasing number, but something that can be quantified. So when I say documentation, this is basically a skill to measure something. And not everything is measurable, unfortunately, but finding a way to do that is, I think, important, just because just like we enjoy watching the weighing scale going down as we're dieting or working out or doing everything right to keep our health good. Every one of us enjoys to see the weight scale go down. So I think if you can quantify something, everybody seems to enjoy that more and want to do more of that. So I'd say that's probably my one thing that I try and find time and promote others to do as well.
Thank you so much. Excellent answer. The next question is, when communication breaks down, things can get a little hairy. Can you discuss a time that you didn't do so great at communicating with others and what you learned about it? Alternatively, can you share a time that things weren't clearly communicated to you and how you dealt with that? And to answer this, I'm going to ask Sarah if she would like to share with us.
Thanks, Erica. Fantastic question. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. A while back in my career, I remember that there was a communication breakdown, and I think that it really had to do with working with offshore teams. And there was this disconnect between not just having the requirements, but also having more of a style guide as well. And then basically that was shipped offshore. And then when we were getting our product, basically, it was missing a lot of things. Then getting on the phone and communicating with the technical lead. So I would say that there was communication breakdown, and what I learned from that in particular is that's when I started to understand that not everyone communicates the same way that I do. So the next opportunity that I had, I started to introduce more of why this is important, what we're trying to solve, what's the use case behind it, so that the engineering team that was offshore would understand the purpose behind it. And that helped then to basically open the doors to their minds, because they could ultimately see a possible solution that we on the Scottsdale, Arizona side hadn't necessarily thought of. So to bring that to the second part of your question, I used that particular example in my future, in my current communication. Even though I'm no longer working with offshore developers, I still bring that lesson to mind that when I do communicate, I try to put it into also a story and why this is important and why we're looking at these metrics. And I try to bring it around to user-centric. So why this is important to our customers. And I want to build the empathy of my audience, always remembering that lesson learned from years ago. Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you so much, Sarah. The last question I have for today is, we've talked about many do's and don'ts. Do you have a favorite do, or do you have a favorite don't that you would like to share with the group? And I am going to ask Ansu if she would like to answer that question.
Madam Toastmaster, Table Topics Master, Toastmasters and guests, a favorite do or don't that I want to practice in my product management skills or in my career. I think a favorite don't would be, which I think I'm just starting to practice it and want to get better, is to stop second guessing myself and being overly cautious about how other people perceive me. I just recently started at a new company, and each time I have an idea or like I think about, or I have no clue about how to solve that, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm like, I'm just 4 weeks into this company. I don't know everything in the product. So I always like push myself to think like, damn it, I'm so stupid, or like, I could do better. How do I do better? So I think a favorite don't in my head is like, accept where I am and ask for help, and not second guess myself if I have an idea, and not care too much about like, you know, how people perceive me. And over time, as I've been part of like organizations or like women in conference, women in product, or other, when I've attended other women conferences, I've noticed that a lot of people around me are just like me. They face similar issues, similar challenges like me. And when I hear their stories, when I realize that, oh, wait, that's what I went through. Okay. So this is what everybody goes through. So that's also why I encourage sharing stories a lot more, because it really hits people's mind and it makes them feel like, you know, they're not alone. And I feel that too. And that helps me like to stop second guessing myself, putting my true self out there. And that's a big don't that I'm working towards, I would say, is don't second guess myself and put my true self out there without being scared about how people perceive me, be it in my career, my workplace, or elsewhere. Over to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Ansu. That was a wonderful, wonderful answer to end our table topics today with. I've really enjoyed everybody's answers today. This is a really fun day. I am going to hand it back to Ashley. Thank you, Ashley.
Well, thank you, Madam Table Topic Master. She's all over it today. And I appreciate those questions. It's probably the most wholesome table topics I think I've heard, which was magical to experience. So I'm happy to hear everyone's responses and answering those questions as well. Now we get to do some fun stuff. So while we are hearing from our evaluation team, now is also a good time to get your vote in over to Rishu. So please direct message her with your vote. I will be doing that here myself as well, just in general of everyone's responses. But at this moment, I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator, Ansu, and her team is going to provide us with feedback from today's speeches and also go through kind of towards the end of our meeting here, feedback from our grammarian, our odd counter, and our timer, and getting those reports. I greatly look forward to hearing about my ahs for today and everything under the sun. But before we get that report, I'm going to turn this over to Ansu, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon and good morning, Toastmasters, once again. This is the most exciting part of Toastmasters as well. I think this is where you truly learn how you perform through the day, how you can improve, be the meeting, the pre-planning, your table topic speeches, etc. So I always look forward to this section. And to kickstart, we will have the 2 speeches evaluated first. And for that, I would like to invite Sam Doctor, who is the evaluator for Laurie's speech. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Ansu. Oh, perfect. Someone pinned me. I was trying to figure out how to pin myself. Okay. Laurie, I'm so excited that I'm able to evaluate your speech. I've been a little MIA from Toastmasters, and this was such a treat to get this speech for this evaluation today. Right out of the gate, you did an excellent job. The intro that you used to start off your story was an immediate hook. You did that play on 4th of July. That was excellent, really structured very well. And you applied great structure throughout the entire speech. Whether folks like it or not, Toastmasters prompts can be very vague. And this prompt in particular tells people to just tell a story, and you can go a lot of different directions. And I think you did a really good job of thinking outside the box a little bit when coming to tell a story to women in product. You applied it to something really personal, but you added that product structure to your speech that worked very, very well for us to follow you and take something away from your own personal experience, which I really appreciate it. And I think everyone here in the meeting also really enjoyed. For your speech, your delivery was great. The use of hand gestures, your vocal variety, and your energy, your pace, everything was great in that arena. My one area of note, or something that you can keep in mind the next time you give a delivery, is, and this is something that I do when I'm speaking, is deliver a speech or present standing. For me, it keeps my energy up because I need to work on that. So I saw that you were doing that, which is awesome. One thing I noticed is you started to shift your weight throughout the speech as you were giving gestures. And that's just something to keep an eye on. I even have a foot pad underneath my feet, so I do it as well. So, but that is one thing that I did take note of during your speech. In addition, I wanted to call out that your delivery, as well as the story that you told, was really inspiring for me. And I think everyone else. It gave everyone a really positive, energetic lift, even though the subject matter maybe wasn't super positive, although the ending was great. And thank you again for an excellent Toastmasters speech.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sam, for that great evaluation. Now we will have the second evaluation by Sarah Gagnon for Somia's speech. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and most especially, there she is, Suima. I could tell that you worked fastidiously on this speech. And when I contacted you earlier in the week to ask you what you wanted me to look at or give more attention to for your speech, you specifically said structure and delivery. You knocked it out of the park on the structure. I loved the framework that you introduced along with the visual aid that showed basically the steps that you follow. The example of a calendar, I think a lot of us can relate to that, how the calendar is just basically 12-hour work days. I also like the fact that you brought in that awareness of technology that helps to block those distractions that we have on a day-to-day basis. Also pointing out like what really works for you, such as forest or rescue time. So the structure was very good. And now I'd like to go into the opportunities for improvement. So on your title, you had mentioned product management versus deep work. And when I was looking at the entirety of your speech, I was thinking that maybe a better title could be multitasking versus deep work, because in actuality, we still do multitasking as part of our product management work, but that's just an idea, is the title. There was a slide that you mentioned on millennials, and I thought, wow, I'm not a millennial, but I totally relate to this and the productivity statistics that you had in your slide. And I was thinking to myself that maybe just a slide showing the productivity statistics by themselves would be really, really helpful. On the deep work slide, I would have added the title of the author, and I know that someone had asked questions about that after your speech. So, or you could have passed out maybe a slide or some notes with your resources on there. I was taking notes like crazy, and I think I missed a few things, so I'll have to go back and listen to it. Speaking of which, on your slides, perhaps limit them to about 3 bullet points or so per slide, because that would really help the audience to zoom in on your major points. So again, the structure was awesome. As far as delivery, I know this is one of your first speeches, so kudos to you. And on the delivery, what some of the suggestions I have is to introduce inflection in your voice, perhaps add some pauses, ask some questions of your audience, because when you're in a slide mode like you were doing with your PowerPoint, unfortunately, the audience focuses more on the slides than they do on you. So a suggestion going forward is, if you were to use your PowerPoint again, maybe have 3 slides with 3 points on each slide, and then stop the presentation and then just speak one-on-one to us. So that way we have that connection with you. Let's see here. I also loved the fact that when you concluded your speech, you revisited those points, you wrapped it up with a nice bow, and it made the entire speech have a very nice flow to it. So I really enjoyed this speech. You brought some points about that I can use personally in my day-to-day work. Kudos to you for a great speech, and I can't wait for your next one, Sonia. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you for your feedback, Sarah. Lots of great points. I'll revisit the video to look at all the feedback.
Thank you, Sarah, for the great evaluation. Next, we will move on to the grammarian's report from Sina.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to do my job very fastidiously, but I got engrossed in all the speeches and the table topics. So here's my report. So for the word of the day, Sharon, you did awesome using the word twice in one sentence. I never would have thought of that, so that was good. The others who used it is Sophia had once, Tanya used it once, Svetlana had once, and Sarah, you had it once in your words for today. I didn't have much of the improper usage of grammar, but I did note down a couple of quotes that I would like to mention again. A couple of things that came up is like nutrient dense foods from Laurie. We don't think in that manner whenever we think about food. So that was something exciting. You can be afraid, but do not do it anyway from Sharon. And then statements like lead, influence, inspire, plan, practice, pause, and progress. And I think Tanya brought up notes, the 3 steps that she takes care of: notes, be prepared, go with the flow. And the whole concept of to don't list was inspiring. That's from my end. Back to you, Ansu.
Thank you, Sina. I think +1 on the don't list. Actually, I didn't catch that first. I was like, to don't? Then I was like, oh, I could have a whole don't list. That's kind of cool. That was the first time I was hearing it. Next, we will move on to the R Counters report by Svetlana. Over to you, Svetlana.
Thank you. I don't believe I was as fastidious with the counter report today, but also because many of you, I noticed, don't use a lot of filler words or sounds like I just did. But I did gather some. So Sumaya, sorry if I'm mispronouncing, I had 4 ums for you. Erica, 1 ah, 5 ums. Richu, 1 Sarah, I had 3 slight repeats for you. Ashley, 3 ers or slight interruptions. Tanya, 3 ums. Sophia, 4 ahs, 1 and 1 repeat. Sharon, 3 ums and 1 like. And Ansu, a handful of likes. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Svetlana. Next, I call for the timers report by Rosie.
Hi, everyone. You did a great job this week. I'll go over the speeches first. So Laurie was at 6 minutes and 38 seconds, which is within time. Sonia was 7 minutes and 15 seconds, which was 15 seconds over time. And then for the table topics, Tanya was 1 minute and 57 seconds within time. Dana was 2 minutes and 15 seconds, so a couple seconds over. Sophia was 1 minute and 16 seconds, so within time. Sharon was 2 minutes and 49 seconds, so over time. And then Sam was 1 minute and 20 seconds within time. Rishu was 2 minutes and 14 seconds, so over time. Sarah was 2 minutes and 15 seconds, overtime as well. Ansu was just in time at 1 minute and 58 seconds. And then for the individual evaluations, Sam was at 2 minutes and 45 seconds within time. And Sarah was 3 minutes and 50 seconds within time as well. And back to you.
Thank you, Rosie, for the timer's report. And now we'll move on to my evaluation for today's meeting. I think this club and the meetings that this club runs needs a lot of kudos. I'm always amazed by the pre-work and the pre-planning that goes behind to just run that one meeting. A week ago, agenda was ready, all the roles are filled, Toastmasters, Table Topics Masters, everybody messaging each other just to confirm that, all the roles are filled and we're good for the next Sunday's meeting. So kudos on that, to keep doing this week after week and everybody consistently doing it, even though new folks are taking up roles. So that's a great culture set by the team itself. Second call out would be the word of the day. I'm sure all of you noticed how everybody used the word, almost everybody used the word fastidious, which is a great showcase of the fact that, it was an easy to use word and people learned a new word too. Fastidious is not something I use on a daily conversation, so that is a good word to be chosen. Third thing was how the greeting of guests is planned well in advance. I saw Slack messages going about, oh, these are the guests we're expecting. Oh, this person hasn't arrived yet, so maybe don't call her out. Oh, she's arrived. So that coordination is the kind of detail which is actually kind of missing in other forums, and this forum takes care of that. So great job on that. A few things on the speeches that we heard. There were in-depth evaluations given already for Laurie and Sonia's speech. But just to call out, Laurie, I loved how you used a personal story and took us through just that. You used only the personal story to give us 3 messages, which is a very difficult thing for a narrator or a speaker to do, to be honest. Like, people like to add multiple stories to get multiple points, but you did it beautifully through a personal story. And I loved how you narrated that and really grasped our attention and attention throughout. Sonia, I think it was a very important topic that you chose. I would almost challenge you to do a part 2 of this, where you tell us your personal story of how you went about it. You told us the facts about what multitasking is, what deep work is, but I want to hear about your challenges of how your mind went through, gathering your calendar, moving things around, talking to your manager, then, getting those awkward stares when you push off stand-up meetings. Those are things we want to hear so that, we also feel like, okay, this is how you handle it. Maybe I can try it out too. So personal stories always help, I believe. Going on to the table topic session, Erica, great job on finding up to 8 topics around the theme. And I think you chose people who did not have roles today, which was great because we had 17 folks joined in for today's meeting. And I think almost everyone spoke today. And that is a goal, because if you're spending 2 hours of your Sunday at this meeting, you want to at least speak for 5 minutes so that you gain something. So thank you for doing that, and great topics. And about the table topics, I think everybody did a great job. And I noticed that, again, a lot of folks use the word of the day, which is commendable. A special call out to Dana. I know you joined as a guest today, but it did not seem like you were a guest. You did a great job delivering your speech. Sophia, again, I know you use the word of the day. Kudos there. I think it's really difficult to use word of the day on the spot, but kudos there. Another person who did that was Sharon. I liked how Tanya spoke about, a personal story that happened this week, and a message that she said, go with the flow. I have faced challenges in my career or elsewhere that, where things change massively and you realize that, why didn't I have any control? But you actually don't have control for many leadership decisions, etc. But you go with the flow, observe it, and then, hopefully learn from those lessons. So best of luck, Tanya, to, go through that organizational change, because I know there's a lot of struggle there usually. Then everybody else spoke about, there was communication strategy, don't list, which was a favorite topic of table topics that I heard today. Moving on, I have a few, suggestions of, how this club can become even better, because this club is, to be honest, a premium club, I would say. But a few things that we can do to improve, I feel, is one thing was the word of the day. I know it is part of the agenda, but the meaning of the word of the day is not there. So I saw it, I actually forgot the meaning for a second, then I had to Google it just to understand and thoroughly know that, how do I use it? So it'll be nice to just have a meaning and the usage probably in the agenda, or even after the word of the day is introduced, put it on the chat, the word of the day, meaning, and to usage, so people can just go back and look at it. I think two places where we can do this is one, when the word of the day is introduced, as well as when we start the table topic session, because that's when everybody's going to start speaking. And again, putting a reminder there that this is the word, this is the meaning, this is the usage, would just a helping hand of sort. I think all of us need to sort of practice the art of greeting the audience and handing over to the next person. A few of us practice that, but sometimes there's a lingering pause and it's awkward. Okay, it's done. Okay, now I take over. So because it's a Zoom meeting, because nobody's getting onto the stage and leaving the stage, it is always good to greet and then at the end say, over to you, Table Topics Master, or over to you, Toastmaster. It needs practice also, to be completely honest. So maybe something we can build on. A third one I thought about was the voting. I was just thinking, I have seen other clubs or even in my conferences where if we can make the voting as part of the Zoom pop-up, then everybody for sure will vote, and the vote counter person might get the votes immediately. I don't know if you can, I don't know the Zoom configuration, if you can actually just have the results sent to the vote person alone, maybe something to look at. But instead of having them to type it down, if it's part of the meeting itself, organically, everybody will finish that action. It's something like when we design our products, we want it out there so that people finish that action, and it's not complicated to finish that action. So maybe a point of improvement there. A last one would be, I was taking notes. I have the Zoom meeting on, and then I was rushing to look at the agenda of where we are at. And then a thought came to my mind that, maybe we have some scope of improvement of how the agenda is laid out. There's a lot of detail there, or maybe it's the way my brain is wired. I kind of like table format where I can see the timing and go to the spot. I guess because it was a 2-column format, I was struggling to find where we're at. Maybe scope of improvement that we can think about to make things more easily readable for everybody's brain. These were some of my, points of improvement, I would say. But to be completely honest, great job, everybody. I love the momentum and the consistency with which we run these meetings week over week. And new ideas should always pop up to improve this club even further. And that's it from me. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Lovely. Thank you, Ansu, and all of the evaluators and supporting members of the evaluation team. That was very thorough on all accounts, and I definitely have some notes on what I can improve on my end. I hope you guys were able to do the same and have notes on what you can improve going forward. Also, I did love the comment about us being a premium club. I think we should make that a hashtag or put it on a shirt and brag about it a lot. Absolutely love it. But before we get to the other good stuff and wrap up here a little bit for today, I do want to bring Rishu up so we can hear who had the most votes today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters. Interestingly, we have quite the split vote for the top position and for the second position. So there are 4 winners, at least I want to declare 4 winners. In the first position are Sharon and Tanya, congratulations. And just by a difference of 1 vote are Dana and Sam, who are on second, again, tied on second. So congratulations to all 4 of you. Back to you, Madam Toastmasters.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. Well-deserved win. All right. Can we bring up the VPE, or I'm kidding, we don't want to do that yet. First, we want to hear from our president, and then we'll hear from the VPE.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for a wonderful, for leading today. You did a wonderful job. Fellow Premium Club members. That is so wonderful to hear from you, Ansu. You've been with us from day one, and it's really great to hear that. Feels really good. I'm going to invite our guests to come up and give us a little bit of feedback of what you thought today and what you liked the most. And we will start with Dana.
Yeah, I don't have a bit of feedback. This is my first anything public speaking practice at all, so I don't have anything to root these opinions in. But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought the structure of the meeting was great. I think how deliberate everyone is about staying focused and that they're here for the task at hand, and you can tell that the meeting is very structured, it's very organized, everyone's very active and paying attention, and I love the quick feedback and the ability for everybody to participate. So yeah, I don't have any negative things to say. This was really great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was really excellent to meet you. I hope to come back.
Yeah.
Let's see, and we have Sophia. Sophia, how did you like today?
I really liked how everyone from the people who gave their speeches and then the evaluators, how they noted each and every detail, the positives and what opportunities are there for improvement, the questions on the table topics, how detailed they were, the two do's and the two don'ts, and I learned a lot. And it was so interesting that it engrossed my attention so much that I don't know how these 2 hours went away so quickly. So and I'm really excited because I learn new things in these meetings. This is my second session.
I'm really glad that you came back and I get to meet you. I hope you'll be joining us.
Yes, that is my intention.
Awesome. And Sharon, would you like to say hi? We didn't get to meet you at the beginning of the meeting, but maybe you'd like to give us a little bit of an intro.
Sure, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon. I met Svetlana a couple nights ago in club officer training. And I think all of us here are, well, thank you for the invite, Svetlana, and I was glad I could make it. I think we all choose our level of fastidiousness that we want it to be. As product managers, program managers, there's a certain level of fastidiousness that we need to have. So I want to say 3 things I like about, based on my experience. I love the level of energy here. I felt being very welcome here, and also love the final remark on being a premium club. For some reason, I was thinking about USDA, very top sirloin or filet mignon, probably because I went back market and saw a piece of really nice looking meat yesterday. But I don't mean to offend anyone. As what Laurie said, we are here to inspire, to change the world. And I'd like to add to that to say that also by doing deep work. I actually did meet Cal Newport in one of the conference. And it was kind of interesting. I heard about a Pomodoro method too, so maybe I'll look into it deeply after this speech. I feel really welcome here, and thank you for inviting me. And it's really nice meeting you all. Back to you, Table Topic Master or Club President, Erica.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Steak is my favorite thing, so you can compare me to a steak anytime. All right, I'm gonna hand it off to Laurie. If anybody would like to stay around and ask any questions after the meeting, we'll be on for a little bit. Thank you all, and take it over, Laurie.
Thank you, Madam President. So in the chat, as always, I threw out our next roles for next week. Sarah is going to be our Toastmaster. And we are getting some themes in, but I'm going to put a call out for people to sign up for roles. We have some speaker slots open specifically in the next meeting. So if anybody would like to speak I would love to have you. If not, I'm going to be tapping on your shoulder anyways, asking you to speak next meeting so we can fill up our speaker roles. So it's a good opportunity if any of you submitted to Women in Product, use it as a practice run. That's why we're here. And if we need to make any adjustments to the roles, we can do that as well. For the people that spoke today, I'm one of them, but please make sure to go into Basecamp and check off your speech so that we can make sure you're getting all your credits for it and stuff like that. If there's any awards that should be granted, I can make sure those go through as well as the VP. And then for Rosie, I'm going to give another shout out. Please pay your dues. It just makes it easier on all of us if we just get it out of the way and we don't have to hunt people down in the middle of March. So with that, I'll pass it over to Ashley, or actually maybe our SSA, Amy, to wrap us up and get us out of here on time.
Thanks, Laurie, and thanks everyone for a great meeting today. I'm going to stop the recording and we will be adjourned.